Welcome back to MJ Horror Studio. Survival horror games with 3D graphics and dark colors always bring a chilling sensation to players. Notable titles include Identity V, Dead by Daylight, and Friday the 13th. Recently, many of you have suggested that we focus more on Identity V, so in response to everyone's support, today let's delve into the past of the hunters in the game. But before we begin the video, we hope you can give us a thumbs up, share, and support us. Now let's get started. Identity V is a mobile online survival horror game developed and published by NetEase Games in July 2018. At the beginning of the game, players take on the role of detective officers who receives a letter of commission from an anonymous sender and set foot in the all-letters manor to unravel the mystery of a deadly game, only to be drawn into a series of mysterious events at this location. The deadly game of all-letters manor, also known as Mana Game, is what players will experience in Identity V. Each map consists of 5 players divided into 2 sides, survivors and hunters, with 1 hunter and 4 survivors. The survivor task is to repair 5 decoding machines scattered throughout the map to open the escape gates, while the hunter's role is to capture and hinder the survivors from completing the task using their weapons. The match ends when the survivors escape the map, or when the hunter captures all the survivors. If more than 2 survivors escape, the survivor wins. If 2 survivors escape, the match is considered a tie. If 1 or no survivors survive, the hunter side wins. It sounds simple, but facing the hunters in the game is not easy, especially for those who are new to the game. According to the storyline, both hunters and survivors have their own paths and reasons for stepping into the blood-filled game of all-letters manor. They are all struggling to achieve the reward promised by the owner of the manor if they win. So, what are their paths and reasons for being here? Let's find out more about this right now. Hell Ember is the earliest appearing hunter in Identity V and is the default hunter that all players possess. His real name, confirmed by the developers, is Leo Beck, or simply Leo, a tall and honest Englishman who runs a successful small weaving factory. On March 14, 1874, Leo married an English woman named Martha Remington in Devonshire, southwest England, and enjoyed a happy married life. During this time, a business at the weaving factory was thriving, so the Beck family had no financial worries. But 2 years later, on December 21, 1876, Leo's small family welcomed a new member, their daughter Lisa Beck, making their already cozy family even more prosperous. It can be said that this was the happiest and the most fulfilling time in Leo's life. However, things began to unravel when Leo decided to hire a financial advisor named Freddie Riley to help manage the business of the weaving factory. With his simple and trusting nature, Leo quickly regarded Freddie as a close friend and always invited him to the Beck's family annual gatherings, unaware that Freddie had intentions toward his wife. Indeed, Freddie Riley fell in love with Leo's wife, Martha Remington, at first sight. Despite knowing that Martha was a married woman, he courted her in various ways behind Leo's back, and befriending Leo to be able to frequently visit the Beck family, and meet Martha was one of them. As for Martha, despite receiving many love letters from Freddie, she did not show a clear attitude. This made the financial advisor restless, and thus a malicious plan began to form in Freddie's mind. One day, Freddie Riley called Leo deceiving him into buying and investing in the Minerva weapon factory, claiming that producing weapons at this time would bring in more profits than the declining weaving factory. Due to his lack of financial knowledge, Leo was quickly tempted by Freddy's scheme. He discussed this matter with his wife, but Martha immediately opposed it. She believed it was a wrong decision and firmly prevented her husband from investing in it, because although the textile market was competitive, at least it still yielded profits, and fabric could be used daily, unlike weapons. This argument seemed to touch Leo's pride, and he gradually sank into alcohol, deciding to throw money into buying back the weapon factory and ignoring Martha's advice. The marital discord caused Martha to distance herself from Leo, and with Freddy actively sending comforting love letters, she gradually wavered and soon fell into the arms of her husband's financial advisor. But that's not the worst part yet. Here, we had talked a little about a weapon factory that Leo was about to invest in. In the past, around the year 1854, during the Battle of Balaclava between the Allied forces of England, France, the Ottoman Empire, and Russia, Minerva Weapon Factory earned a huge profit for manufacturing the unique Minerva 12 flintlock rifles. But when the war ended, the arms industry began to decline, and the factory owner couldn't keep up with the times, so business at this place became increasingly sluggish. And Leo, who was deceived into buying back the Minerva factory, had no idea that the factory he bought was carrying a huge debt, so the profits from producing weapons were nowhere to be seen, and he had to bear an additional debt that fell from the sky. Plunged into despair, Leo increasingly drowned in alcohol. He began selling valuable items in the house to pay off debts. Martha, finally unable to bear the burden of past debts, decided to accept Freddy's proposal and run away with her lover, leaving Leo alone to deal with the massive debt, while their daughter Lisa was sent to an orphanage in White Sands Street. With a cheating wife being deceived into debt, and his daughter becoming an orphan, Leo was pushed to the brink. He then wrote a letter stating that if he and the factory were in trouble, all the insurance money would be transferred to his daughter Lisa. After arranging everything, Leo set himself on fire in the Minerva weapon factory to end his miserable life. However, the people of all letters managed to save him from the fire, named him Cinder, and brought him to the abandoned Sacred Heart Hospital to undergo a series of illegal experiments such as mind control, erasing desires for freedom, and suppressing his memory. From there, Leo became the test subject number 1, 12, 22, 13. On July 13, 1899, he participated in the manor game as a hunter with 4 survivors: his former enemy Freddy, his biological daughter Lisa, the thief creature who had intentions with his daughter, and the nurse Emily, who was responsible for Martha's later death. In that game, Leo successfully killed Freddy, Creature, and Emily and released Lisa. The experiment was considered a failure, so Leo had to undergo a series of horrific punishment afterward. It can be seen that, despite becoming an inhuman monster, Leo still loved his little daughter. Smiley Face. Like Hell Ember, Smiley Face, also known as Joker, is one of the early hunters in the game. His real name is Joker, born on August 4th, and he was a member responsible for clowning in the Hullabaloo Circus trope in the famous Moonlit Park. With a naturally sad face since birth, Joker quickly became famous for his sad clown role. However, contrary to the glorious reputation on stage, inside the Hullabaloo Circus was extremely filthy and decrepit. To make money, circus owner Bernard did not hesitate to invite deformed actors or even intentionally create deformed individuals to attract audiences. In addition to Joker, there was Mike Morton, the mischievous boy whom the circus owner adopted to perform tricks with balloons filled with dangerous chemicals. Muro the Wild Man, Bernard's grandson, mistreated to create a wild child, and Violetta, the Spider Woman, who possesses a half-human, half-spider physique. Living in such an environment, having to degrade himself day by day to perform for the audience, Joker's psyche was somewhat affected, but the fame he received was no less. However, everything began to change when the circus welcomed two new members. They were a beautiful couple, Sergei, the male clown, and his girlfriend, Natalie. With the talent for animal training, their appearance brought a breath of fresh air to the Hullabaloo circus. With his handsome looks, humor, and radiant face, Sergei quickly became the famous clown in the circus, known as Smiley Face, gradually replacing Joker. Sadly, Joker, who was replaced, fell in love with Natalie, Sergei's girlfriend, but it was only a silent love without hope of reciprocation, until one day, Joker accidentally saw a scar on Natalie's back. Suspecting Sergei of mistreating his girlfriend, he went to confront him to protect the woman he loved. There are many theories about what happened in their argument that day, but the most convincing theory is that after the argument, Sergei decided to take revenge on Joker. He stole a bottle of acid from Miles' modern chemical cabinet and mixed it into Joker's makeup, causing severe facial corrosion, making it impossible for Joker to continue his clown role. Long suppresses resentment, and pain drove Joker insane. One night, during a big event at the circus, Joker, with a chainsaw in hand, carried out a bloody massacre here. Before the massacres took place, Violetta and Merle had left the circus rope and were not affected. Mike was fortunate to survive as he was out, and Natalie, by jumping into the Mullet River, escaped with her life but disappeared. Everyone else did not survive. In the massacre, Joker killed Sergei, took over his identity and face, and became Smiley Face. Since then, both Moonlit Park and Hullabaloo Circus have been permanently closed, becoming an urban legend that no one dares to mention. Later, it is unclear what happened to Joker. All we know is that after becoming test subject number 803, he participated in the Manor Games, in experiments related to witchcraft, and reunited with all the missing members of the Hullabaloo Circus. Everything ended when Joker killed Violetta. Natalie, whose real name was Margaretha Zell, died in Joker's arms. Muro luckily escaped, and Mike set himself on fire with a firebomb alongside Joker in the Hullabaloo Circus. The Ripper, one of the early hunters, doesn't have a real name and is often referred to as Jack the Ripper, sharing the name with a real-life murderer in the history of England. And indeed, Jack the Ripper of London is the figure NetEase based the Ripper character on in Identity V. With no date of birth, we only know that from a young age, Jack developed two different personalities, one good and one evil. Whenever good Jack fell into a deep sleep, his evil persona would take control of the body and begin to carry out gruesome acts. Initially, things stopped at the evil persona tearing and gutting dolls, but gradually, things escalated beyond control. The appearance of the violent persona made Jack afraid to sleep, as whenever he fell into a deep slumber, he would wake up not in control of his body. often with the smell of rust on his clothes, until one day, Jack discovered a way to control his evil personal. Every time he held a painting brush, evil Jack would fall asleep, and that's why he began to immerse himself in artistic paintings. Carrying his love for art, Jack studied painting under artist James Whistler and gradually became a refined gentleman with a passion for anatomy. Initially, the good personal dominated most of the time in control of the body, but over time, as Jack's mind matured, the evil personal within his body grew stronger. Eventually, darkness swallowed the light, and Jack no longer has both good and evil personals. Instead, we had a bloodthirsty murderer with an endless passion for art and craving for violence and a twisted, insane mind. On August 7th, AD 88, Jack carried out his first attack, with the victim being a flower girl named Martha Tabram. Also the character's birthday, marking the birth of a true demon and the shadow of the Jack Ripper looming over England. 5 unfortunate girls became victims under Jack's claws, and he remained uncaught. With his refined gentleman facade, Jack eluded the law until one day, his mentor James received a letter from Viscount de Rose, the owner of the Oletters Manor. In the letter, the Viscount expressed his admiration for James' paintings and invited him to the manor as a guest. However, James declined for personal reasons and recommended his student Jack to go in his place. When Jack set foot in the Oletters Manor, he became test subject number 202, participating in the manor game with the Judge Kagan Nicholas Keogh, test subject number 203, and a man named Edmund Reed, allegedly a police officer wanting to arrest Jack for his crimes. Throughout the game, Jack appeared calm, cunning, and never hesitated in any action. He completely controlled the game in the hunt and shattered the concept of justice imposed in the humane experiments of the Oletters Manor. In the end, around June 30, Jack successfully killed Judge Kagan in the same way he did with his previous victims, breaking Edmund's belief in justice, leading him into a severe psychological crisis. Gamekeeper. If asked which hunter deserved the title of the most beautiful past in Identity V's early days, I think it would be Gamekeeper. The real name of the Gamekeeper is Ben Perez, a gentleman with a warm heart, living in a small cabin in the woods belonging to the auditor's estate. Ben's daily job is to patrol the hunting grounds of the estate and drive away poachers. However, because he has a kind heart, even when encountering poachers trespassing into the forest illegally, he easily lets them go without punishing or pitying anyone. For 7 peaceful years, despite having only the company of hunting dogs and a stag named Black Nose that he raised since it was young, Ben never felt lonely. He even intended to continue working there until old age, that is until tragedy struck a month before the hunting seasons, during the mating season of the deer herd, which was a difficult time for Ben because he couldn't keep track of Black Nose. In a moment of carelessness, Ben failed to notice a group of poachers advancing into the forest. As soon as the sound of gunshots rang out, Ben's intuition told him that something was wrong. He quickly rushed to the source of the gunfight and encountered a group of fully armed poachers. Due to their overwhelming numbers, they quickly overwhelmed Ben. At that moment, he recognized a familiar face among them. Many years ago, there was a boy who came here with friends to poach and got trapped by a wild animal trap. The boy was left alone, and Ben rescued him. Now, that boy returned to repay Ben by bringing along another group of poachers, overpowering him and massacring the deer herd in the forest. In the midst of pain, hatred, and humiliation, with the head of his dear friend, Ben was chased by the poachers, as if in a mockery, until he fell into a trap and couldn't run anymore. Those monsters spared Ben, not out of sudden mercy, but because they were certain that Ben wouldn't survive in this weather. After the poachers left, Ben's hunting dogs followed the scent to rescue him. But despite surviving the ordeal, Ben's personality changed. From a gentleman, Ben became a ruthless forest guard, ready to take the life of anyone who dared to set foot in his forest. He kept the head of Black Nose, with theories suggesting that Ben couldn't remove it, while others suggested that Ben voluntarily keep it, marking his personality change. Ben's cruelty turned the Green Forest into a terrifying place, dubbed the Farewell Forest, where no one dared to venture for fear of facing his brutality. It's unclear why Ben participated in the experiment at the Auletes X-Day, but in that minor game, Ben collaborated with Buck Labadura, a colleague at the X-Day, to capture 5 survivors: Mara Morton, Kurt Frank, Will.i.am Ellis, Naif Subedar, and Sylvain Leroy. However, in this round, most survivors eliminated each other, with hunters barely intervening. As a result, 3 out of 5 survivors were eliminated, and the remaining 2, Naif and Will.i.am, were punished for rule violations. As for Ben, based on the character's diary in 2023, there are many theories that he had passed away, but the truth is still unknown. So Weaver, with the next name, we return to Joker's Hullabaloo Circus. If you recall, when discussing Joker earlier, I mentioned another name, Violetta, and indeed, Violetta is the real name of the Soul Weaver. No one knows her exact date of birth. All we know is that Violetta was born without limbs. Her arms and legs were just small, round lumps of flesh. As a newborn, she was placed in a small basket and abandoned in the audience seats. During a performance of People with Deformities, Max, the owner of the show, found Violetta and saw this as a chance to make a huge profit. He decided to adopt her on January 2nd and dreamed of turning her into a superstar on stage. As Violetta grew up, she learned to see and attempt difficult circus art under Max's hard training. Despite her horrifying and deformed body, Violetta had a beautiful heart. She was extremely kind and gentle to everyone. Violetta's diligence eventually paid off as she became famous in most bizarre shows. However, that spotlight didn't last long. The audience quickly grew tired of Violetta's monotonous and dull performances, losing interest in watching her. For someone like Violetta, losing audience support meant losing her value to exploit. Therefore, wanting to return to the stage, Violetta deliberately sought out a famous mechanic and asked them to modify her body by installing mechanical arms and legs. There are many theories about who installed these limbs for Violetta. Some say it was a female mechanic named Tracy, while others speculate it was Ben's colleague, Luck Labadura. However, despite undergoing painful modifications that could even affect her health, Max still didn't allow Violetta to perform on stage. Based on the character's diary in 2021, we know that she left the horror show and started working at Joker's Hullabaloo Circus towards the end of the year. But for some unclear reason, Violetta left before Joker carried out the bloody massacre at the circus. Although it's not entirely certain, it's highly likely that Violetta left the circus because she's received an invitation to perform at the Auletes X-Day as a member of Joker's Hullabaloo Circus. Here, she became experiment subject number 801, considered too kind-hearted for the game and was eliminated by Joker before Mike could end that round.